What's up, guys? It's Rob from Heroes Avenue. Happy Monday. I hope you guys all had a great weekend. I already know this is going to be a good week because it got started with a bang. This morning, we got some new footage from Star Wars Episode 9 via sizzle reel. If you guys didn't already know, this past weekend was D23. It's kind of like the Comic-Con for Disney that happens every 2 years, in which they showcase a lot of their upcoming projects. And this year, they tended to focus on Disney Plus and the TV shows that are going to come out. But of course, Disney being Disney, they have a lot of other movie projects that they're gonna that are coming out as well for Marvel. They have a lot of animated movies and of course Star Wars, and that's what we're gonna talk about in this video. So over the weekend, we got some news that there was some really exciting and possibly controversial footage that dropped at the D23 Expo in terms of Star Wars, and this morning we got that footage and we are going to kind of break it down. So I'm going to talk about my favorite theories for Darkside Rey. As you probably saw in the thumbnail, there is a scene in this trailer footage, or not really a trailer. There's a scene in this sizzle reel that really got the fandom talking. And again, let me start off by telling you or reading to you a tweet from one of my biggest influences, Kevin Smith. I love this guy. He says, "Since '77, at Star Wars has been the love of my pop cultural life. So when I saw that sea of Star Destroyers, I felt like a kid again. It's like JJ said to at Avengers, I've got an Endgame too." And then he links the footage from the expo. Now we're going to get into it in just a second, but let me just first start off by addressing, I know that there's been a divide in the fandom, but like anything these days, there's a lot of differing opinions. Especially in the age of the internet, a lot of people have an outlet to voice their opinions, and I'm very happy for that because that's what I'm doing right now. My opinion, I absolutely love the Star Wars franchise. It doesn't mean I love everything in it, but just because Disney owns it now doesn't mean it can't be, they can't make some really great stuff. So while The Last Jedi was really divisive, I really have high hopes for this Rise of Skywalker movie. Now, with that all being said, let's go ahead and just break down this trailer a little bit. I'm not gonna do a reaction because I already reacted to this with a bunch of coworkers this morning, watched it like 4 or 5 times already. So this kind of sizzle reel starts off by harkening back to the old movies. And I'll talk about in a second why I think it's great that they're doing that. So it starts off with the twin sons, very iconic, something that we saw in The Last Jedi. As we all know, Luke passed on to the other side in the last movie, and that was the last thing he saw of twin sons. So his story kind of went full circle in that movie. And then we get shots of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Carrie Fisher, and of course the droids that started it all, R2-D2 and C-3PO. So we get all this footage from the previous movies, footage of iconic characters, of course Chewbacca in there, and some iconic moments, especially just like the time when Darth Vader revealed to Luke that he was his father. So we see all of that. Of course, we see Yoda, we see Lando, we see the Emperor, and then we see especially that clash in the throne room, and Darth Maul. So we're starting to see stuff from the prequel trilogies, even that Mace Windu fight scene in which the Emperor turned Anakin and killed Mace Windu. Awesome scene in what was otherwise an okay trilogy at best. Then we're starting to get into the new trilogy, and why I think it's important that they are showing all of this old footage is because we've heard from JJ before that this last movie, it's going to encapsulate and finish up and tie in together all of the previous Star Wars movies. It's going to link them all together, and what a monumental task J.J. Abrams has on deck for that. So we're going into the new trilogies from this point on, and I like how they're not shying away from Last Jedi. You know, despite what you think, and I happen to really enjoy that movie, despite what you think, it is part of canon, and it's something that JJ has to work with at this point. Then we get a shot of Rey and that famous scene in which her and Kylo Ren are holding that lightsaber pose for way too long, at least from what it seems to me. And then we finally have a glimpse of some new footage. Now we get the gang back together, I guess you could say. We get, and this is probably years down the line, as you can see, Rey reconstructed her new lightsaber, or the old lightsaber, which was originally Anakin's, then passed on to Luke. She looks like she reconstructed it. We have her holding her staff, her original staff back in here, so I wonder how she got that. They're probably visiting Jakku again. We got Poe Dameron here looking like he's an Indiana Jones type character. We got Finn in his new suit. Hopefully they do something better with his storyline. And then we get C-3PO and Chewbacca in the background. All right, what do we got next? We get a what looks to be kind of a celebration, but who knows, really. It looks to be a celebration on this planet. I'm not sure exactly what they're celebrating. Could it be from the end of the movie, or I'm not sure. And we have, Carrie Fisher. And of course, Carrie Fisher, this is going to be all unused footage from like The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, but they're going to work her into this movie in a really organic way, hopefully. At least that's what they said they would do. And in the meantime, in the background of this footage, you hear a montage of Luke saying kind of what he said in The Last Jedi, all of 1,000 years of like the knowledge of the Jedi is being passed on and lives through you, and probably talking about Rey. And then we get a shot of what looks like it's going to be a kind of a battle. We get all of these X-Wings, and you can see the Millennium Falcon in there kind of coming out of light speed. And then a great shot of some old school looking Imperial Star Destroyers. And there is a ton of them. I don't think I've never seen any of them, that many of them in one specific scene. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. You get Finn and a new character. You get C-3PO and some red eyes. What the hell does that mean? And also, we get a shot of some laser beams coming out of the ground or shooting into the ground. And then a cool move, which kind of harkens back to Darth Vader's kind of lightsaber throw in Return of the Jedi, where Rey's throwing the lightsaber and she's like catching it once again. Another shot of Kylo Ren coming out of his ship, and like he looks like he's going into battle. He even lets his saber go into the ice ground right there. You get an intense looking battle of Rey and Kylo Ren on in the sea, which is probably on the remains of the Death Star. I'm not sure. And then you get the infamous scene, and Emperor Palpatine says, "Your journey's nearing the end," and you can hear Darth Vader's voice breathing, and you get to see this image here. Pans very quickly to Rey with this weird-looking lightsaber, which she can fold and wield as a dual-bladed lightsaber. And then here is the title sequence. Now, that is a really quick recap of and a shot-by-shot breakdown of the footage we've seen and my thoughts on it. Of course, I watched it a ton of times, and if you've seen it already, I had to kind of break it down to set the mood of what we're going to talk about here. And that image of Darkside Rey is where we're starting at. That image of Darkside Rey. A weird-looking lightsaber. I'm not sure how she would actually use that in battle. Maybe it's just a way to kind of save room on her belt. But nevertheless, it is a cool-looking lightsaber. Is it practical? Probably not, but it's cool. Yes, it is. And let's talk about some of the prevailing theories in regards to this. And I may miss some. I only have 3 prevailing theories. But if you have any others, ones that you like, definitely let me know in the comments below. And to be honest, I've been trying not to follow so much in regards to Star Wars because there are a lot of potential spoilers out there that I don't want to get into or I don't want to see or read. I'm just basing my conversation purely on what I've seen via trailers. I'm not doing any other research besides that. So let's go ahead and dive into it. So, first theory for Darkside Rey. Darkside Rey is that she actually does turn to the dark side. Everyone's been complaining before about her being a Mary Sue type character. While I don't really agree with that, a lot of fans did actually have hopes for her to possibly turn to the dark side in a way to subvert a lot of fans' expectations. And while that would be cool, we've seen what happens when fans' expectations get subverted in Star Wars. I'm talking about The Last Jedi there. So, but I think that would be cool, a cool thing to do. But there is a problem in that. I don't see Disney. And I don't see any studio, even if Disney didn't own this, I don't see them turning Rey into a dark side user at this point. That's just me. Maybe it could possibly happen, and if they can tell a great story in which she does turn to the dark side, cool, I'm all for it. So one of the theories is she does turn to the dark side, something that a lot of people have wanted to see. A lot of people have wanted to see that her wield a dual-bladed lightsaber because of the way she wielded the staff in the first movie. And That's the first theory. Yeah, she turns to the dark side. I don't really subscribe to that, but some people will, and I know talking to some people that they do think she may turn to the dark side after seeing this. I don't think so. I don't necessarily think so, especially when you take into the account Emperor Palpatine. We know he's going to be involved in this movie somehow. We saw him at Comic-Con do his famous cackle, say "roll it again," and they played the trailer again, so we know he's going to be involved. We hear his voice in the trailer here, or in the footage here, so he's going to be involved. So with that being said, I don't know. Maybe. I'm going to add a fourth thing here. So let's go to number 2. I just added this right now on the top of my head. Maybe she's getting possessed by Emperor Palpatine. That could be a thing as well. Yeah, Emperor Palpatine definitely has a lot. He can have a lot of influence. He's had a lot of time to sit there, stew, build up his dark side powers, possibly. What is his connection to Snoke? Maybe was he controlling Snoke this whole time? How is Emperor Palpatine going to show his face up again, and what role will he play? Could it be that he's controlling her? Maybe. Let's go to number 3. This is a cave vision similar to Dagobah. This is I guess this would be the more traditional route you can go, especially because Star Wars is about reoccurring themes. There's a lot of themes throughout the trilogy, or I'm sorry, the whole history of Star Wars. There's themes that come into play that JJ can touch on, especially since he's trying to link all of these movies together. He can touch on themes from the past to come now, and one of the themes from the past is this kind of finding yourself type thing in the cave in Dagobah when Yoda's training Luke to face your fears. Maybe she's afraid of turning to the dark side. There was kind of a similar cave sequence in The Last Jedi too, in which she had to face herself. Maybe this is that, and maybe it's just this dream sequence. I think people will be a little irritated if that's the case, because they showed it in here to kind of draw out a certain reaction from us, and they definitely did. So I think people would be a little irritated if that is the case, but it could by all means be a cave sequence similar to Dagobah. I wouldn't be mad if it's done very well. Of course, in any case, as long as it's done well, I think I can get on board with a story like this. Number 3, and there's different parts to this one, and this is the one I actually would be really down for and be really intrigued by, is that she is a clone. Now, a lot of people have thought that she's a clone of Emperor Palpatine. I'm not sure if I really like that idea. Or a clone of Luke. I'm not sure if I like that idea, but if she is a clone, we know clones are a thing in the Star Wars universe. Of course, all the original Stormtroopers were clones of Jango Fett. So if she is a clone, maybe Palpatine's DNA or Luke's DNA was used to create her, and her and Kylo Ren may have to settle their differences and face off against Darkside Rey. Maybe it is a thing. The only weird thing about that is we've seen that done with Logan just recently, and I feel like we've seen that in another movie in which there was a clone involved. But hey, if it can be done well, I'd be totally down to see it, especially if this Darkside Rey is leading some sort of Sith army. We saw all those old school Star Destroyers pull up. Maybe she's leading those armies. Maybe she's been sitting waiting in the wings, and maybe that's why Rey was dropped off onto the planet of Jakku back like when she was a kid. Maybe she was somehow taken, and the people who stole her escaped and left her on the planet to perhaps fulfill some sort of destiny, or just to get her out of wherever she was trapped in. Who knows yet? That's just one theory. Yeah, so with her being a clone, there's been rumors that her and Kylo are going to have to actually team up. And this movie is called Rise of Skywalker, and a lot of people speculated on what that actually means. Could it be there's a new form of Jedi? They're not going to call themselves Siths or Jedi. They're going to be called Skywalkers. That's a theory that's been going around. But there is also a theory, of course, that redemption is also a theme in Star Wars. And can Kylo Ren actually be redeemed? And could Princess Leia, or General Leia, I should say, in this movie, could she be the one to turn Kylo back? I really would think that's the only way that it can happen, because he killed Han. Really hard to forgive him for that. But if anyone was to do it, I think, especially what we saw in Last Jedi when he hesitated to kill his mom, I think it would be Leia to be the one to do it. So I think it would be really cool to see that happen. If anything, maybe the Rise of Skywalker means Ben Solo. I wouldn't be mad. I'm just gonna say I wouldn't be mad. A lot of people, I've seen people get mad if, hey, no, we can't have him redeem himself. He killed Han. F that. Screw Star Wars if they do that. But man, I just feel like there's so much outrage on the internet these days that if their expectations don't happen, there's outrage. Just take the movie for how it is. If it's a good movie, judge it on by the merits of the movie. Okay, so I'd be down for it. Now let's talk about a few other things. C-3PO with those red eyes, what the hell does that mean? I've heard rumors that he's going to be turned into some sort of weapon, some badass weapon. We've seen images with him wielding some sort of weapon in the past, I believe, or in recent set photos. And I wouldn't be surprised if C-3PO gets some shine, because he hasn't got a lot of shine in this movie, or in this new trilogy. The fleet of old school star destroyers, old school style star destroyers, that doesn't look anything like it's from the new fleet. I'm forgetting what they're called right now. The First Order. It doesn't look anything like a new ship, so we're gonna get some old school style star destroyers. That could be something that Emperor Palpatine had waiting in the wings, so maybe he was just biding his time this whole time. Yeah, those were the biggest things I saw coming out of this movie. I'm hoping there was also another rumor that there'd be time travel involved with this movie. I'm hoping that's not the case, because there's been a lot of time travel in movies lately, and I'd rather not see Star Wars veer towards that direction. So guys, that's my thoughts on Star Wars Episode 9, the footage that we got. Let me know which your favorite theory was in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.